Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. They're after the kids. They're after the kids, man. It's not good. We'll get into that. But first, let's look at there's a current question on the Canada Poly Forum. Is Canada finished? Is there any hope? What do you think? My first response was F. That's it. Did you play online games when you were younger? No. All right. Join the mailing list as well as. Just in case YouTube tries to shut me down, all of that other stuff. And let's get into the news, okay? I should be sending it out today or tomorrow. The newsletter should be going out today or tomorrow. So that's my goal. We'll see if it works. In this, Mr. Polyev is talking about you can't borrow your way out of debt. I tried to listen to this twice, and it was just kind of boring. He kind of meanders on. We're borrowing a lot to spend a lot to send a lot out of the country. It doesn't make a lot of sense. The governance doesn't make a lot of sense. If you were working to fix this crisis at as quick a pace as possible, I don't know that you would make the choices that this government has made, right? You would have to change the motivation to understand. Like you would have to change the understood motivation for the government to understand what they're doing, I think. That's my personal opinion. The Toronto Star says one of the major mysteries of Ottawa in the spring of 2021 is why on earth is Harjit Sajjan still Canada's Minister of National Defence? Yep. Editorial, Sajjan and the Liberals badly let down women in the military. Again, right? So this is nothing new. Another broken promise by these Liberals is fixing First Nations and their clean drinking water. Scott Gilmore, who happens to be married to the former climate minister and dog aficionado, Catherine McKenna. And so, yeah, he's writing. Just know who your critics are, right? He's writing, let's be clear. If these communities were white and in swing ridings, this would be fixed in a month. Don't believe me? Canadian Forces DART team can deploy a clean water plant anywhere in the world in 48 hours. And he carries on. So he's making it about race. This is using what looks to be criticism of the government to drive a different narrative, drive a different goal, basically. And I think that it's funny that, that the transparency of our government is so transparently clear, right? Yes, if this was not First Nations, it has nothing to do with, there's so much that it has to do with, but fundamentally, Trudeau did promise in 2015 that he'd have all this done. I think he said by 2019, and then he said by 2021, and then now he's adding 5 years on to the projected goal. And it's one of those things that I don't think it's ever going to be solved because there isn't much of a will to actually solve it, I don't think. And so we're gonna languish in this bad press that is actually achieving another goal, right? So it may be bad press, but he's driving the racism wedge. Okay, if they were white, they'd have it fixed. Okay, Scott, sure. Is it a lot of white people that they're deploying DART teams for? Okay. Scott continues. He says, here's the thing about this prime minister. He may be your guy. He may be better than the other guys. He may even be a nice guy, but he doesn't genuinely believe in any of the things he claims, be it feminism, climate change, democratic reform, or this. He's an empty vessel, caveat emptor. Empty vessel. So I think that's funny. The criticism coming from Scott Gilmore, I think it's controlled opposition at best, right? At best. Here is Mark Miller, and he's trying to clarify the timelines in the government documents on water for First Nations. So this is a carrying on, actually addressing the issue, but not really. The whole article, because I read through it, I was going to highlight some of it. The whole article just talks about, it's a lot of words to say basically what the tweet said. Here's some more words on First Nation water. We're not going to get it done in time. We're going to need 5 to 6 years. Right? Okay. Moving on to C10, Bill C10. Yesterday, I played you about a minute long MP of Leanne Rood, and where is she the MP for? Kent Middlesex, Lambton, Kent Middlesex. And she was talking about how her constituents were very concerned about Bill C10, and her office has been inundated with emails. And then Eric Duncan also says, yes, our office is getting many calls and emails opposing C10 and don't appreciate the Heritage Minister calling them extremists for not wanting their online rights trampled on. I saw another Blacklock's reporter article this morning talking about how the Prime Minister was telling one of his private speeches somewhere that the people who oppose it are probably right-wing zealots or something like that. Some derogatory remark from the Prime Minister. And I thought, I'm not going to include that, but I saw it and I thought, interesting, right? Like the political other, those people have to be not hated, like pitied, right? Like it's dislike, but like, oh, you're too dumb to understand. Like, we'll pat you on the head and like, don't worry, when everything's over, you'll understand why we did this. They're not doing a good job, right? Like they're just being condescending while also torching the economy, right? It's like there's so much they've done wrong that their condescending nature and their condescending kind of like, don't worry about it. And even with the Bill C-10, right? Like the idea is not to convince us that this is a good bill. The idea is to make us abhorrent and offensive to their voting base, driving a wedge, right? They make generalizations. It's this group of people. It's conservatives who are also all of these other things, right? It's crazy. It's crazy. And I mean, it's effective. It works. People like tribalism. They're using this racism thing and they're creating and shoring up their own walled garden, right? And if you're on the inside, you're like, we're so good. Everybody likes us, except those abhorrent people over there who we don't allow in here. And also, we're going to go to their place and take it over too. And then kick them out because they're abhorrent. That's what they do. Get one or two people in there and then done. Anyway, Maxime Bernier says, what would a PPC government do to stop disastrous lockdowns? Provincial governments are responsible for most decisions regarding lockdowns. However, that doesn't mean Ottawa has no influence on the situation. The federal government and its public health agency, Theresa Tam, are responsible for sharing expertise and coordinating the pandemic response with provinces. Since the beginning, they've been encouraging them to adopt lockdown measures. The PPC would do the opposite. We would look at the large impacts on society and base decisions on a wide range of expertise, and we would tell provinces that they are on their own if they shut down their economy rather than bailing them out with borrowed money as the Liberals are doing. So that alone would change the conversation, I think, if the money was cut off from the federal like curb and all of that other stuff. The provinces wouldn't be able to lock down because their people wouldn't be able to be self-sufficient. They wouldn't be able to take care of themselves. I don't know that the curb makes you able to take care of yourself as it is anyway. But without that money coming from the feds, without that encouragement coming from the health, like the PHTO, the provinces would not be able to sustain the extended lockdowns. The only way they're able to sustain the extended lockdowns is the money that the federal government is borrowing and giving to citizens, in my opinion. I could be wrong. But it wouldn't be sustainable. Now, I mean, I've said before, it's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle for the PPC, for Mr. Bernier, because I feel like I watched the 2020 election, right? I feel like things are a little dicey there, right? I feel like things are a little dicey in our Western democracies and how above board everything seems, right? After all is said and done. Here's another good example. I was talking about how the Vancouver method is cleaning drug money through casinos and real estate in BC. And one example is the senator being called back. BC's money laundering is calling a former gaming minister, Rich Coleman, back to the stand to testify for a second time over inconsistencies he made during his first round of sworn testimony. So things are, with the state of our justice, the state of our all of our elected officials across the board being enthusiastic about getting rid of our charter rights and locking us all down, I'm not really thinking that fair and free elections are top of mind. I'm not really thinking that getting to the bottom of this money laundering situation, which has been a thorn in the side of BC politics for years, like a really long time. And it's impacted real estate all across the country, like inflated the real estate market all across Canada. So it's not a small deal, but I don't think that these are all of a sudden going to be like, oh, you know what, we got to deal with this right now. There's no urgency, right? The urgency is all for COVID because that's all where the dollars are. I think that's it, right? So I'm not holding my breath. You know what else I'm not holding my breath on? Chuck Schumer calls on Canada to reopen the border, right? I don't know that, and who would have thought that people would be agreeing with Chuck Schumer? Randy Hillier says, I agree with Chuck Schumer. But the problem here is good old Chucky is calling for vaccinated Canadians and Americans to move over. So this is a medical apartheid state. It's a very, very dangerous situation to... He's calling for Canada and the U.S.
And today, Senator Chuck Schumer was there on the U.S. side, of course, saying it
keeps opening up and playing on me. Like after a certain amount of time dormant, it'll just open back up. So I think that's the amount of time it would usually go to sleep. And when it is going to go to sleep and doesn't, it re-wakes the video. Anyway, regardless. The medical apartheid state that he's advocating for here is not appropriate. So I agree with him that we need to open the border, but I don't necessarily agree only for vaccinated people, right? So he makes an impassioned case, but again, he's talking about vaccinated people. So that's the problem with that. I'm not going to go through it because I don't think so. And I'm going to close the tab because it keeps waking up on me and talking, and it's annoying. So 680 News says, education unions, advocacy groups, and parents are raising concerns about a government plan to offer online learning for 2021-22 in Ontario, saying it could be the start of a permanent change with serious implications for students and workers. I think the teachers got played a little bit here. I'm going to pause. I'll come back to the teachers in a second. I'll go back to the border situation. The tab was getting me messed up. Basically, I think the border should be open because there's a lot of examples of places that have successfully opened without a high portion of their population vaccinated. And so I don't like Chuck Schumer's focus on vaccinated people. And I think that it's a little careless for Randy to agree with Chuck Schumer in such a, I don't know, because it could be taken in the wrong way. And I'm not meaning to like give Randy a hard time. I'm just saying I don't want medical apartheid. I don't want a situation where, you know, vaccinated people on the left, vaccinated people only on the drinking fountain, right? Like, can I have a drink? No, we're not. You're not vaccinated. You know, like, oh no, we've embraced something that we thought we fixed, right? Like, and enthusiastically embraced it. I need a thesaurus. Okay, now back to the schools. What happened with the teachers is they thought they were getting a sweet deal. And it doesn't take very long to break a union, right? Like it doesn't take long because when the people who fund the union, that's the workers, get upset at the union, then things change. But I think what's happened is the union thought that they were fighting for their teachers and keeping the teachers home in order to force the board to comply with what they want, which is lower class sizes. Lower class sizes is good for the union because more teachers means higher union dues, right? So the union makes more money. So if you have one teacher, you make one set of union dues. If you have 5 teachers, you make 5 sets of union dues, increasing your profits 5 times, right? And so more teachers, the union is incentivized to have more teachers. So they work for students by reducing the class sizes, but they're also reducing the amount the teachers work, the amount of work the teachers do during the school day, and in what capacity, right? Like working on the yard is seen as X work, and so on and so forth. Union legalese is very dense and complicated, or it can be. But what the union thought it was doing was forcing the government to have 15, like a cap of 15 in a class, which is almost like private schools have 12. So 15 in a class. Okay. And what they got was the government saying, like basically agreeing with this lockout for now, and then the government learning how to do online education and giving the contract to TVO, because it doesn't say in the union contract, you have to give online learning to the current teachers. It doesn't say that. It's not contracted out, right? So the government is on its own to put together an online education program as they see fit. And it does not say that they have to use teachers. And the government already indicated its intention to use TVO, right? So the stupid union trying to force the government and strong arm the government and being not negotiating properly has snookered themselves, because now the government is going to give the contract to TVO and reduce the amount of teachers. Now, to mark work, it doesn't say you have to have a teacher. You can have maybe a teacher's aide or something else to mark work. You could just give it to an AI, right? How cheap would that be, right? The cost of one teacher, right? Take that, union, right? So it's a very interesting situation that we're watching unfold. I think that the unions have created a prison-like system in our classrooms, and I think that they deserve whatever they get. And I think it's awful, awful, awful what they've done to our kids. Masking them all day, 6 hours plus a day. There was a video this morning I shared on Twitter, and it's a kid crying, and I couldn't watch it. Like, I just saw the soundless version, and I was like, I can't watch this. It was a kid in distress walking back and forth trying to talk about getting the mask off, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that kids live in a situation where all of the authorities and all of the people in charge of their lives, because they don't get autonomy, right? They don't get to say, F this, take it off. And then, take it up with my lawyer, basically. They don't get to say that. They have to listen to the teachers. And then if they don't listen to the teacher, they have to listen to the parents. If they don't listen to the parents, then they have to listen to some other authority figure. They don't have an escape. They don't have the ability to say, this is going to end tomorrow because I'm not going to comply anymore. They have to comply. They don't get an escape from it unless they have somebody able to stand up for them and give them that authority back over their lives, right? So there are people who are living in this situation where they don't see a way out, and they have to continue. And these are kids. There's no option, and it's just awful. And this was not driven by science. This isn't being done to keep them safe. This has removed their body agency. This has removed their rights. This has removed their ability to decide whether what's over their face is a suffocating device or not. It's unbelievable what's happened. And now we're talking about even worse things, right? Even worse. And I'll get to that in the redacted part of the show. Seems like there are very few people who are working to protect the kids at this point in time. And we'll talk more about that in the redacted part. Here is Wholehearted Media. It says, dear members of the press, you're invited to email us with your affiliation and we will send you the link, or feel free to view live on our website. And it's streaming, and it's today regarding a court challenge about defending the rights of children. So there are some people, but it seems like the people who are supposed to be doing that are like in their professional capacity. The boards of education, the directors of education, the trustees, the MPs, the minister of education, all of these people who should be protecting kids aren't. And they should be. So we shouldn't be having to take people to court. So anyway, Thursday, May 6th, that's today. And it's actually about half an hour from now. So as I'm uploading this is probably going live. So maybe watch the replay. Go to the website, watch the replay, check it out. People are fighting. Okay, we'll get into the lockdowns. Overbearing enforcement, defiant Tillsonburg golf course closed. A Tillsonburg golf course that defied public lockdown regulations and was charged for doing so is closing. Why? The OPP charged the course on John Pound Road under the Reopening Ontario Act once on April 29th and twice on May 1st with defying provincial regulations. It faces up to $10 million in fines. So yeah, the real world sucks. The real world sucks sometimes, because $10 million in fines is like, that's ruinous in and of itself. Never mind one or two done seasons, right? Like two seasons where you can't welcome golfers, or a $10 million fine, right? Like what do you think the profit on a golf course is yearly? Maybe a few million, but that'd be a very profitable golf course, right? So hopefully there's a legal remedy for that situation. Ontario Soccer calls on Doug Ford to address the hidden mental health pandemic impacting our young athletes, and again requests the Ontario government rescind its ban on organized outdoor sports. And the answer is no, they don't do that. Anthony Fury quotes one aspect of this. He says, the social and physical neglect of our children and youth must stop. Ontario's soccer leaders write in a letter sent to Premier Doug Ford calling on him to rescind the province-wide ban on all outdoor organized sports. It's awful, the abuse we are forcing our children to endure for nothing. For nothing. We get nothing from this. Anyway, here is Roman Baber asking Christine Elliott, as soon as I find my mouse, where is it? There it is. Oh, there it is. Asking Christine Elliott about the outdoor sports ban, and basically she says, yeah, we won't be doing anything about that, which is just unfortunate.
Of Health. This morning, Ontario Soccer sent a letter to the Premier urging that the social and physical neglect of Ontario's kids must stop. Ontario Soccer stressed that organized and controlled sports are safe for Ontario's youth, and that it's time we take the mental health of 3 million Ontario children and youth seriously. Today I'll be participating with 500,000 soccer players in the Let Us Play campaign, and I encourage everyone to take a picture with hashtag LetUsPlay, post it on social media, and send it to your MPP. However, yesterday the health minister said that hospitals and ICU numbers have to go down, and most incredibly, that the backlog of surgeries would have to be worked through before the ban on outdoor sports and other restrictions can be lifted. My question to the Minister of Health: will she listen to all the experts who unanimously say that the outdoors are safe, and to quote Ontario Soccer, stop the social and physical neglect of Ontario's kids, and hashtag let us play?
We certainly encourage people, especially as the weather gets nicer, to be outside, to go for a walk, to go for a run, to walk the dog. But organized sports right now are not something that we can encourage based on the medical advice that we've received from the experts.
Going for a walk is not going for an organized soccer game. Kids need to play, right? And this government being tone deaf like this is inappropriate. And this is what Mr. Baber was talking about. The backlog of surgeries would have to be worked through before the ban on outdoor sports and other restrictions can be lifted. What could possibly be the rationale for that, right? That doesn't make any sense at all. That's ridiculous. Ontario is reporting 2,941 new cases of COVID-19 today. 86 of the cases reported today are from over 4 weeks ago, including 3 from last year. They go back as early as April 2020. So that's interesting, right? So we're going to go over to the redacted portion of the show, and the rest of this will be on BitChute or Rumble or Odysee. And there's so much the lockdowns don't make sense, and it's very concerning. It's very concerning. Oh, maybe I'll finish off this lockdown portion here. Alberta's under lockdown, and Jason Kenney is the enemy of the Liberals. Jason Kenney is the enemy, and the Liberals are the saviors. Chrystia Freeland is appealing to Alberta. She says, Alberta has made the decision to impose new restrictions during the third wave of COVID-19. If you're laid off or cannot work or need to take care of a loved one, the federal government continues to have income support available. Right? That's interesting, right? So the federal government is the savior riding in to help Alberta with government dollars, right? You can't replace an economy with government handouts. It just doesn't work like that. Ontario probably won't be ready to leave the stay-at-home order on May 20th, experts say. These experts, right? These experts, unbelievable. This was posted an hour ago. This is the May 2-4 weekend. They're trying to cancel this now. And what criteria do they want exactly? Nobody's told us in a year, right? We are hurtling towards being closed for the summer because on the say-so of the people in charge, on the say-so of the people who say in order to open up outdoor youth recreation, we need to get through the backlog of surgeries. Right. Because, I mean, it totally makes sense. Totally makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. So head over to the other places where you find video. Sorry, my brain stuttered there. And you'll find the redacted part of the show. And thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com. Check out CanadaReport.co. Check out SpeakingMoistly.co. And have a wonderful, wonderful day.